Hello everyone and welcome to the Stanley Parable. The Stanley Parable is a first-person exploration game. You will play as Stanley, you will not play as Stanley. You will follow a story, you will not follow a story. You will have a choice, you will have no choice. The game will end, the game will never end. Contradiction follows contradiction. The rules of how games should work are broken, then broken again. This world was not made for you to understand, but as you explore, slowly, meaning begins to arise. The paradoxes might start to make sense. Perhaps you are powerful after all. This game is not here to fight you, it is inviting you to dance. You guys are in for a real treat with this one. This is one of my favorite games, which I have played a few times, but I think it's time for another playthrough and I'm going to bring you guys with. I'll also try not to talk while the narrator's talking because he's the best part of the game. So welcome aboard, let's dive right in and see what the narrator has in store for us today.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-ending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Now this game has so many endings, I'll try to get all the endings, but I can almost guarantee I won't get all the commentary from the narrator. Because there are so many ways to trigger it, I don't think I've even discovered them all. So we'll probably hear something new that I've never heard before in this playthrough. So first, we can't do it.
But Stanley simply couldn't handle the pressure. What if he had to make a decision? What if a crucial outcome fell under his responsibility? He had never been trained for that. No. This couldn't go any way except badly. The thing to do now, Stanley thought to himself, is to wait. Nothing will hurt me. Nothing will break me. In here I can be happy forever. I will be happy. Stanley waited. Hours passed, then days. Had years gone by? He no longer had the ability to tell. But the one thing he knew for sure, beyond any doubt, was that if he waited long enough, the answers would come. Eventually, someday, they would arrive. Soon, very soon now, this will end. He will be spoken to. He will be told what to do. Now it's just a little bit closer. Now it's even closer. Here it comes.
Well, that was the game. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. I'm just kidding. Let's get on with the rest of them. Some of the endings are abrupt like that. So that was the reluctant ending.
Stanley had never seen the office this brightly lit. Was it a sign of something? He hoped it was. He hoped very much that it was.
What the? I've never heard him say that. Huh. There was once an achievement on this door, but it doesn't look like he's going to make commentary again. So let's just look around the office for a bit. Oh. We can get on the chair and desk. We'll take one last look, and then we'll fall into the brightness. And now we're trapped.
At first, Stanley assumed he'd broken the map, until he heard this narration and realized it was part of the game's design all along. He then praised the game for its insightful and witty commentary into the nature of video game structure and its examination of structural narrative tropes. So, now that you're here, what do you think? Isn't this a fun and unique place to be?
Yep.
Why don't we take a minute just to drink it all in? Okay, I'm over it now. What do you think? Are you sick of this gag yet?
Are we sick of this gag? No.
Then in that case, we'll continue. But now, here comes the real question. What do you think would have happened if you had told me that you wanted this to stop? Do you think it would have been particularly different?
It might have.
Would I have taken the same idea but rephrased it superficially to fit that answer? Perhaps you never would even have thought of it if I hadn't brought up the issue in the first place.
Now we gotta know.
Now, think about it. Will it be worth it for you to restart and then come back here just to do the other option?
Yep.
Clearly, this whole gag takes some time. What if the other option is even longer? How long will you spend in total just to have heard all the narration? Oh, and this is rich. Perhaps you've just played the other option, and now you've come to see what happens in this one. So, what do you think? Which choice was the better one? Imagine if you had selected Continue on your first playthrough, how tantalizing it would be not knowing what happens when you pick the other option. Indeed, you are one of the lucky ones. Though if the other option is really miserable to listen to, then perhaps you're not. In fact, I'm just going to say that no one who's listening to this is lucky. Well now, I've built up the other option so much that I'm going to stop talking and leave you to your decision whether to come back here, continue with the game, or just sit in this spot forever and ever. Cheers.
We could sit here forever. But I'm gonna restart. Uh-oh. The game's different. Let's restart again. It did that on purpose.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Yeah, see, this is what he normally
No matter
says.
how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
And then...
At first, Stanley assumed he'd broken the map, until he heard this narration and realized it was part of the game's design all along. He then praised the game for its insightful and witty commentary into the nature of video game structure and its examination of structural narrative tropes. So, now that you're here, what do you think? Isn't this a fun and unique place to be? Why don't we take a minute just to drink it all in? Okay, I'm over it now. What do you think? Are you sick of this gag yet?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know how to say this politely, but you could literally just hit escape and restart the game any old time you want, like right now. You could have done it just then. Now would also be an appropriate time to quit. Any of these points and so many, many more, all of them are appropriate. I'm enjoying what seems to be an internal conflict going on where you are literally unable to act on your own desires to restart the game. So, just to push the envelope, I'm going to try and make this as miserable as possible and see how long you can maintain.
Oh, this isn't bad.
There once was a man named Stanley, who people considered so manly. But the truth must be told, he was not very old and was quite particularly gangly. What Stanley liked most was buttons. He pushed them like some kind of glutton. He did it all day in a meaningful way, but his brain had long ceased to function. Which is why he is in this parable and lives an existence quite terrible. And if you are not strong and keep playing along, you too will become quite unbearable. Yes. You too will become quite unbearable.
Oh, that was good. I approve. think he's just gonna repeat. We'll wait for a bit. Yeah, it just repeats. Okay. So I guess you'd call that the hidden window ending?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided
Now, there
to
was
go
an
to the meeting.
achievement for clicking on
Perhaps
this
he had
door,
simply
but I
missed a
don't know
memo.
if I can get him to do the commentary again. It was funny, though. Or maybe it wasn't when the door was here. Maybe it was somewhere else.
No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Alright, let's explore a little further into the office. And we'll look around a bit again. Now, there are ways to open all these doors that are locked. And I won't do it on the first playthrough, but I might actually do it a bit later just for fun to show you some of the hidden areas. Those areas are really weird. It does like a graphical glitch because it doesn't even exist. But we'll find that out later. I also enabled the key binding so I could zoom in a little so you could see certain details. Now, whether there's anything worth zooming in on, that's another story. Huh. Oh. The Pale Pride. Huh. I've never really stopped and just tried to read the papers. Interesting. Anyway. Oh. This is part of a secret ending. But we're not going to get that anytime soon. Wonder if that's actually what the city here looks like. Or I guess that could be a map from our real world city. Wow, balance of $0. Huh. Anyway, we better move on with the story. Well, we looked at some of the papers, but there didn't seem to be much of interest, so I might ignore them from now on. Wait a minute. This isn't the normal layout. What the? So the office randomly changes too, which is very confusing. Here we go.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Alright, so the first time I'm actually going to listen to the narrator. Start by going through the door on the left. Huh. Interesting office. We'll just head straight ahead to the meeting room.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Just kind of looking at the whiteboard, seeing if there's anything interesting on them. See if there's anything funny in this. Not currently, but there might be.
Stanley just stood there doing nothing at all. He seems to think I have nothing better to do with my time than to sit around and describe every fascinating little detail of his inability to do anything. This is why Stanley and I are on such good terms.
That's good. Less air? That's weird. Don't get fired. Let it ball up inside you. Take it out passive-aggressively on other coworkers. Resent coworkers for not supporting you more. Oh man, that really is how offices work. I remember one of these having a funny... Oh wait, no, it was this one. Happy Fillings. Mike James, you were fired. Broom closet. It's unlocked.
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
We could, but how about we wait in here instead? I'll speed the wait up for you guys.
There was nothing here. No choice to make, No path to follow, just an empty broom closet. No reason to still be here. It was baffling that Stanley was still just sitting in the broom closet. He wasn't even doing anything. At least if there was something to interact with, he'd be justified in some way. As it is, he's literally just standing there doing sweet FA.
Yeah.
Are you really still in the broom closet? Standing around doing nothing? Why? Please offer me some explanation here. I'm genuinely confused. You do realize there's no choice or anything in here, right? If I'd said Stanley walked past the broom closet, at least you would have had a reason for exploring it to find out. But it didn't even occur to me because literally this closet is of absolutely no significance to the story whatsoever. I never would have thought to mention it. Maybe to you this is somehow its own branching path. Maybe when you go talk about this with your friends, you'll say, "Oh, did you get the broom closet ending? The broom closet ending was my favorite." I hope your friends find this concerning.
The broom closet ending's my favorite.
Stanley was fat and ugly and really stupid. He probably only got the job because of a family connection. That's how stupid he is. That or with drug money. Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers. Well, I've come to a very definite conclusion about what's going on right now. You're dead. You got to this broom closet, explored it a bit, and were just about to leave because there's nothing here, when a physical malady of some sort shut down your central nervous system and you collapsed on the keyboard. Well, in a situation like this, the responsible thing is to alert someone nearby so as to ensure that your body is taken care of before it begins to decompose. Hello? Anyone who happens to be nearby? The person at this computer is dead. He or she has fallen prey to any number of your countless human physiological vulnerabilities. It's indicative of the long-term sustainability of your species. Please remove their corpse from the area and instruct another human to take their place at the computer, making sure they understand basic first-person video game mechanics and filling them in on the history of narrative tropes in video gaming, so that the irony and insightful commentary of this game is not lost on them. All right, when you've done that, just step out into the hallway.
I don't think we'll get any more commentary now.
Ah, second player. It's good to have you on board. I guarantee you can't do any worse than the person who came before you. You too? Unbelievable. I'm at the mercy of an entire species of invalids. Perhaps there's a monkey nearby you can hand the controls to. A fish? Fungus? Look, you can hammer out the details. I'm not particularly picky. I'll just be waiting for when you're ready to pick up the story again.
He probably won't say any more. Onwards it is.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Looks like we're going up. Let's see what this door is. Executive bathroom. Ah, it's locked. Let's look at the secretary's desk. Ah, more doors. Let's check those out. They're locked. Business time. Okay.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
Not at all. If you've already seen the first video, let's do a trick here. The 8 game.
Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 2845.
It did the 8 from the demo. That's funny.
Stanley simply began entering random codes into the key 2845. But it turns out that the panel's emergency override kicked in, and the door just opened all by itself. And Stanley got the hell along with the story. Well, whoop-de-doo.
I think I interrupted him. We'll have to try that again. Now into the creepy corridor. Looks like this elevator only goes down. So down it is.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
Man, it's dark down here. We'll head towards the light. This section feels like a horror movie.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Mind control, huh? I guess we'll see. I see some kind of button. Let's push it like a glutton. Oh, that's still stuck in my head.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
This section feels way more horror-like. Behold another button to push once again like a glutton. That's going to be stuck in my head all day.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Wait, is that someone's apartment? That's weird. Taking a closer look at these monitors, there's some weird offices. Some of which look like a horror movie. Oh, there's even more down there. Aha, there's Stanley. Yep, that's our office. Let's see what else there is on these. It makes it hard to read it when it scrolls. Huh. Oh, that one got fired. What's the red text? Error, beep alert. Okay. Not sure what these are. Ah.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
I'm gonna go with yep. Man, some of these offices are terrible.
No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world?
Probably.
But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life, for he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Okay, but we're gonna cross through this weird boardwalk over the red pit first. There's a number 5. Wonder if it goes as high as 7. Oh, there's a 4 up there. Makes me wonder. I'm gonna check real quick. I'm not sure I've ever tried 4 to 7. I'm also not sure it goes up to 7, so we'll find out. Here's a 4. Now to go all the way back to 2. Whoops. Four. 2. Man, I wish there was a flashlight. There is a way to bind it so you can have a flashlight, but we're not going to do that on this playthrough. There's a 3 over here. I don't think it goes up to 7. Also have no idea what this is. Well, it was worth a shot, but let's move on. Alright, we'll go through the open doors. Mind control idle, awaiting input. Input. Need input. I'd be surprised if you got that reference, but if you did, leave it in the comments.
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
Oh. We did something.
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes! He had won! He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door.
That's a skull. Weird. We'll have to explore this later, too.
Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Well, there you go. We beat the game. Thank you, everyone, for watching. And I'm just kidding. There's more endings than that. However, that being said, these are all the endings that are going to appear in this video, so be sure to check out the next video. You better subscribe to know when it comes out. Alright everyone, this is where I'm going to call it. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one.